What's up? What's up? I know. Okay, I done changed the time on y'all a couple times today. It was a lot of back and forth, and this is why lately I have not been stamping times on when I'm gonna be here. I've just been telling y'all get in the habit of check my channel because yeah, like I have been going through the storm. Okay, like that's again New Year's Eve. I'm telling all within reason, of course, but I'm gonna tell all. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. If you're not new to the channel, then welcome back. Like, I'm glad that you're back. So I wanted to talk about this because I was scrolling Instagram this morning, making sure all my posts went up and everything was looking good and everything like that. And so I was on my royalty and righteousness page, which, by the way, if you don't know, I actually have a Christian apparel line. Check out royaltyandrighteousness.com. The Emmanuel collection is launching end of this month, December 30th. Hey Yasmin, and it's going to be hoodies, sweaters, that kind of thing. So make sure you check that out. And if you're a single Christian woman, check out Single and Saved in the City on Facebook, and Instagram, Single Saved in the City. But anywho, I was on my royalty and righteousness page this morning, making sure that I put up the first post and everything like that, and you know, everything was looking good and whatnot. And this thing came up on my reels because nowadays I don't really linger on Instagram. Like, I know we always, hey Francis, I know, right? Like, you're finally making you're finally making it to a live, because I've been all over the place. But you know, I have just been making sure that I'm like posting my posts and everything like that. Or when it comes to reels and like IG engagement and stuff, I post and I'm off 9 times out of 10. I don't really stay on that long. I know people be on the engagement hamster wheel, but I just feel like nowadays it is what it is. Like, the people that see it, the people that don't, like, whatever, you know. And honestly, I've been utilizing ads, not all the time, but sometimes, and that honestly makes up for the lack of engagement. So I'm good. Like, I don't, you know, whatever. But this morning I decided to stick around and kind of engage on the reels. It was kind of early. It was like 6 something, I think, or something, or 8, 6, 7 something or whatever. And so this reel came up from Upset the Gram, I believe that's the name. And this guy, I believe, is a pastor, I want to say in Dallas, Texas. And I want to say his church is called Embassy Church. I don't know. I could be off, but he looked familiar. Like, I feel like he is a pastor. I don't follow their page. I saw them or whatever the case may be. And so I was just like, yeah, I know this guy. So let me see what he's saying. And basically in the reel, he was talking about, let's stop selling. No, what did he say? He was like, let's stop putting glitter on it. That was his opening line. And it's from a podcast. I think he has a podcast, and maybe the podcast name is Upset the Gram. I don't know. But he said, like, let's stop putting glitter on it. You know, a lot of times walking with God is not going to just lead to a bunch of happiness and, you know, like, yay, I prayed, he moved, it worked in my favor, this, that, the third, or it worked out how I asked him to do it, because it's always going to work in your favor, but it's going to a lot of times look different or whatever. And so he goes on to kind of give this example, and he's just like, it's kind of like, hey sis, hey Maya. He's like, it's kind of like when your mother, because he was like, when God tells us to do stuff, a lot of the time it hurts. It's not something that you want to do, or you don't quite see how it's going to come together, whatever. And so he gave the example of like a mother telling her daughter to go wash the, or son to go wash the dishes, and you don't feel like washing the dishes, you know, but your mom's like, you better get in there and wash some dishes. And so you just like, you know, you're over the sink just like, man, I hate doing this. Like, I can't wait till I grow up and this and that. And then they're yelling from the next room, like, you washing them dishes, you know, and you just like, yeah. And you like rolling your eyes, hoping they don't see you. Cause you know, moms be knowing. And now that I'm a mom, I get it, you know? And so he was like, you're upset, but all the while you are doing the dishes, you know? And he was like, why? Because obedience is better than sacrifice. So in other words, if you don't do the dishes, you're going to sacrifice your, you know, ability to hang out with your friends or whatever, because your mom might ground you or whatever the case may be. And so he was like, it's the same thing with God. He is in Texas, because in the video he was like, when God told me to move to Texas, I'm thinking it's Dallas, could be somewhere else, but he was like, when God told me to move to Texas, I hated Texas. I didn't want to be here. And, but he didn't quite say he loved it now, but nevertheless, it seems like he likes it more or whatever. Hey, Alicia. I know. Yeah, I was so late. Like, this is why I said earlier, I don't slap times on what I'm doing. Cause I'll just be like, just catch me if you can, you know, if you see me, you see me. If you don't, you don't. And so he was like, but now it's like, I understand why he brought me here to Texas and this and that, the third. And so he was like, what we tend to do in the church, or as a body of believers, is we sell too much happiness. It's like, okay, if you obey God, you're going to be happy, happy, joy, joy, and everything's going to work out, and it's going to be butterflies and glitter and rainbow, and it's just going to be, yes, amazing. I know you hated Texas, Yasmin, you hated Texas, and it is what it is. Like, God's going to do whatever he wants to with the content. I really couldn't care less at this point. Like, if you see it, you see it. You don't, you don't. Why isn't it showing me y'all's chat? I hate when I go live on my phone and it doesn't. There we go. Okay, and it doesn't show me everybody else's chat. Oh, let me see your comment real quick. Mom life is mom lifing. I'm here, but need to catch a 20-minute nap. Oh, it's okay. Go ahead and take a nap. And so, and yes, we don't always understand. We just need to do what God says. And so when he was saying that, I was on the other end of the phone, like, yes, you better speak, because it's so true. It's like, I know I've had this conversation with my sis Maya and a few other of my friends over the years. I know me and Yasmin have said it on our separate channels and conversations and stuff, but it's like, following God and his instructions doesn't always feel great. It doesn't always work out perfectly. Like, just because you have obstacles, that doesn't mean that you're not in the will of God. And I feel like a lot of times we sell that, where it's like, okay, if you're following God's will, you're not going to have these obstacles. You're not going to have these troubles. It's just going to be bada bing, bada boom. It's going to work out and you're good to go. And it's like, nah, like, because me moving to Atlanta, and those of you who have been walking this journey with me, some in real life and some just virtually, it's ghetto. Do not recommend. Like, I always recommend following God, but this in real time, no, ma'am. Like, I'm just like, don't even sign up for it. Like, it's just not all that it's cracked up to be, and all that kind of stuff. So, but I know I'm in God's will. Like, I know this is what he told me to do. And I see glimmers here and there what the future holds, like the long-term future or whatever. But, and in the process, I see like, okay, this is why he told me to move or whatever. But ghetto, Maya, ghetto. And we talk about that all the time, how it just doesn't feel like home yet. And we've been here over 3 years. And it's like, you would think by now, you're like, yeah, this is home, but it still doesn't feel like home. It's just kind of like, we're just being obedient, And I wish that we would stop selling that, like, one-sided narrative. I hope the rain isn't bothering y'all. I'm on my driveway before I leave, letting the car warm up and all that. But it's like, we got to stop selling that one. Hey, sis. Hey, Auntie Jody. That one-sided narrative, where it's like, yeah, it's going to just follow God. It's like, almost like we're kind of like bribing people to follow God. Like, if you follow God, he'll give you all your heart's desires. He'll give you happiness 24/7. He'll give you this and that. And it's like, no, wait a minute. Like, you'll have his joy. And another thing he said in the video, the podcast snippet, is the joy of the Lord is my strength. And, it really hit me in that moment. And maybe I'm late to the party. Maybe you guys already saw it like this or processed it like this. But when he said that, it made me look at it from a different perspective. Like, I don't know how I saw it before, but when he said it and I listened to it this morning, it clicked in my mind, like, the joy of the Lord is my strength. So not that the joy is mine, but it's the joy that God puts in me that gives me strength. Like, maybe y'all are Bible scholars, you already got it, but for me, I was like, oh my goodness, like, light bulb moment. It's just like, this is amazing. So even through the trials, even through the tribulations, even when it looks janky and ghetto and you would not recommend, it's like God puts a joy in me that withstands the trials, that it has the long suffering, that knows that I have a greater hope outside of this earth, because it's never going to be perfect on this side of heaven. Excuse me, but following the will of God is so rewarding. Exactly, sis. Exactly. I was literally just talking about this the other day with a friend. Come on, YouTube. Stop getting rid of the chat. Hold on. I gotta wait till it comes back up. Y'all, this is ghetto. Like, I literally was just talking about this the other day with a friend, that it's easier to be lost, honestly, but it's not worth it. Being a Christian is hard. Yes, it's so much easier to be lost. And the podcast episode, I feel like the podcast is called Upset the Gram, because the guy that was on the podcast, he's a pastor in Texas, and I believe he's a pastor at Embassy Church, and I want to say it's in Dallas, Texas. But if you go on Upset the Gram's Instagram page, you'll see it. I think he might have posted it this morning, but you'll see it. It's in the top 1 or 2 rows on the page. But it was really, and you'll probably see the podcast name in the caption. I didn't read it. I just reposted it on my Royalty and Righteousness Instagram, because I was like, everybody needs to hear this. But yeah, it's like, it's so true. When you're lost in the world, you have fun, and I was just reading that in the book of Romans this morning, where Paul was talking about in chapter 1, where it's like, God gave the Israelites over to their own mind, and that he just like let them sin and do whatever and just have a ball doing it, and they like encourage other people to do it, and they were having a blast. Like they knew that the end outcome was not righteous. They knew it meant, you know, the wages of sin is death, and they knew that they would be punished, but it's like they were just having fun, like doing it, like they didn't even care anymore. And so it's really hard when you know in the back of your mind, like, yeah, I gotta be obedient. Like, you know, God has called me to more. He's elevating me spiritually to just like cling to him more and more and stuff. And spiritual maturity is hard. Like the more mature you get in the faith, the harder it gets. And it's just like, I liked it when I was on the milk, you know, like now that I'm on the meat and potatoes, it's like, ooh, yeah, this is hard, you know, but that's the whole point, to keep going. So I just had to come on here and just tell you guys that, like, I've been saying this for a while. Like I said, and Yasmin's been saying it. I know other people have said it, so I don't want to make it seem like no one's having this conversation. But I do feel like, by and large, the narrative is like, if you're following God and you're faith in, and you're, you know, in some churches, you're giving what you're supposed to give, and you serve it, and you doing this, that, and the third, then everything's gonna work out for you. But then it's like, what also reminds me that that is a false gospel is the fact that in the book of Hebrews, you have the whole hall of faith where it literally says, like, there are people who were beaten, persecuted, like suffered, you know, didn't have much in life, but they were saints. They were saved. When they died, they went to heaven. Like there was no like, oh, you obviously are being punished, so you obviously are not righteous, so you obviously aren't, you know, giving of your tithes enough for your time, or praying long enough or whatever, because you're suffering, because the fact that you're suffering shows that you're not a believer. Like that's a false narrative, that's a false gospel. And so, you know, if you are watching this and maybe you're going through a tough time, and you know it's something God told you to do, you know, like, okay, I'm in the will of God, why is this happening, doesn't make sense, I just want to encourage you that sometimes that's just how it goes. Like there's nothing in our lives that God knows that there's nothing in our lives that catches God by surprise. Like he knows everything. And if he's allowing it to happen, it's for a reason. You know, like it's not for us, like Francis said, it's not for us to understand everything. It's just for us to be obedient and to trust that, like, when we are obedient, he's going to carry us through. My life is a living testimony, because like I said, a lot of y'all been here since the transition from Virginia to Georgia, and you've seen the jankiness. Some of y'all have seen it live in action in real time. So, you know, it's definitely a journey, but at the same time, I also am encouraging a lot of people from what people tell me in the DMs and stuff. And sometimes you don't even know who's watching and just being inspired, and who you're leading back to Christ, because ultimately that's what our lives are supposed to do. Even if you never preach scripture to somebody, or you never lay hands, or, you know, pray for them or whatever, your life should be like a living gospel. Like people should be able to see the difference. And again, I'm not saying perfection, but it's the power of Christ working in you. It's nothing you do. It's not you. It's the power of Christ in you. Because trust me, you'll notice the power of Christ in your life as you start to cling to him. Like you'll respond to things differently. Your heart and mind will be renewed. And it's a process, just like, you know, let it be. But yeah, don't think because you might not be feeling like a bunch of happiness, excuse me, and joy in this moment, or you're dealing with obstacles, that it's like you're not following Christ, or like God is angry with you or whatever, because you could very well be in the will of God, and it's just a part of the process. It is what it is. Just keep trusting God, and let's do better at telling the whole narrative, and like encouraging people beyond just, okay, you follow God, you're gonna get this, you're gonna get that, he gonna do this, like, how about you serve God and give your life to God, and he matures you, he renews your mind. Like, let's talk about the intangible results, you know, the spiritual benefits and the things that money can't buy, because it's like, it's always going to be something else in the physical realm. It's always going to be another job, another business, more money, bigger house, more cars, more clothes, better, you know, whatever. Like, we're always, the requests are going to be long, and, you know, whatever. And I'm not saying we don't have to desire those things, but ultimately it should be, I feel, from my understanding of the reading of the word and all this type of stuff, the basis and foundation of our faith should be our spiritual tethering to God. It should be like, okay, this is ultimately what it's about. Even if I never get all of these things that I'm taking to God in prayer, whatever, he's still good, and I'm still going to be joyful. You know, and that could be very hard in this world we live in, but again, that's God renewing your mind or whatever. So that's all I wanted to say, y'all. I'm sorry for being all over the place in my time with this. Today's Friday. Yeah, it feels like a Thursday. My day, my days are all off. Will I be live tomorrow? No, I won't be live tomorrow because I'm gonna be out with the girls with Single and Safe to the City, and then I'm going to a friend's boyfriend's birthday dinner. So yeah, I will be out and about living my best life, not blinking twice. So y'all just have a good weekend. Sunday is up in the air. I don't know. I'll kind of see how Saturday works out, and then I'll determine if I'll go live on Sunday. If I do go live on Sunday, I'll try to like do something for the soul, something rejuvenating, something. We'll see. But either way, I will be back next Monday for sure. So y'all have a good weekend. I thanks sis. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for this update and timely message. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, Maya and Jody. It will be up. It should show up right away because that is a perk of when you go live on YouTube. It shows up right away versus StreamYard. It kind of disappears and comes back. So feel free to share this out, y'all. You guys do really good with sharing my videos. I know I'm not on here like I used to be back in the day, but when I look at my analytics, the sharing rate is really good. So definitely keep sharing. And if you, again, just happen to see this, maybe you meander to my page or not subscribed, please consider subscribing. It helps me a ton. It helps this word get out, and give it a thumbs up. So I will see y'all later. Have a good one. Stay dry if it's raining, and stay safe. And James, it says, I'm paraphrasing, testing your faith produces spiritual maturity. Exactly. Thank you for that scripture reference, sis. And also, if you guys watch this and you think of anything that maybe I missed out on and while I'm speaking, feel free to comment it, because I know people come later and I don't always remember all the scriptures off the top of my head. Hey, Desiree. So if you remember anything, put it in the comments. But I'm gonna go ahead and go now, y'all. Didn't want to keep you too long. I just really wanted to share that with you. And again, it's Upset the Gram if you want to see the clip, and then you might see his podcast on it too. So enjoy, y'all. Love y'all. Bye.